You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Hello, beautiful people. Happy Tuesday. Happy Mars Day. We are heading towards tomorrow morning's full moon in Leo, and the moon makes some uncomfortable connections today as we make our way there. So I'm going to walk you through that and talk to you about another aspect, the sun squaring off to the north node. This is another tense aspect. So today could bring some tension, some feelings of conflict. Remember, everything is here to show us the way, to give us opportunities to grow, to learn. And if you're here right now, then you're already aligning with the energy and you should be able to flow through this day with a little bit more ease. So let me know how your day is going so far, how you're feeling, what you have on tap for the day, and if you have any specific questions about your chart. I want to actually, before we dive right into today's astrology transits, I want to show you what's coming up this week. I normally do this on Mondays, but since yesterday was Valentine's Day, we were focused on all the love, the Leo moon, this conjunction between Mars and Venus we're feeling, didn't quite get to it. So as we make our way towards this full moon, I think it's a good idea to kind of take a step back and look at the energy heading our way over the next week. Good morning, Danny. Thanks for being here. I am doing all right. I'm feeling a little bit of that tension. And I posted this on my Instagram stories yesterday, but following the transits is really helpful for me because when I'm feeling off and I don't exactly understand why, I can usually figure it out just by looking at my birth chart. So as we get going, having a copy of your birth chart is really helpful. And I try to tell you what degree every planet is at as I go through. If you ever have a question about that, just ask me in the comments because it's really helpful to be able to look at your chart and be like, okay, like for example, Venus and Mars are forming a conjunction in Capricorn at about 15 degrees today. So where does 15 degrees Capricorn fall in my chart? What aspects is it making? And I'm dealing with a lot of opposition right now. I'm not going to lie to you. So feeling the tension, definitely. If you are too, I'm right there with you. But luckily we have each other and we have astrology as a tool to navigate. So here's a look at what's going on with the moon. Oh, you know what? This is not the right graphic. One moment here. I'm in January still. That's not going to work for us. It feels like February is flying by though, I will say. Maybe it's just because I was gone for a week and a half of February, but oh my gosh, the past 2 weeks just feel like they have totally, like, where did they go? I have no idea. Okay, here we go. Here is the right graphic. Let's see. Okay. All right, so yesterday we had the moon move into Leo. We talked about this, kind of bringing the romance, bringing the passion. The moon stays in Leo today. You can see we're inching closer and closer to that full moon that becomes full tomorrow morning. But all of the connections the moon makes today are, like I said, they're going to be a little bit uncomfortable. They're going to bring a little bit of tension, a little bit of awkwardness. So there could also be some mood swings, some changes. I'm going to talk about why I think this is happening and what opportunity it's presenting us in just a moment. Tomorrow we have the full moon in Leo, then the moon moves into Virgo shortly after the full moon in the afternoon. It stays in Virgo, very much in that analysis mode, paying attention to the details. This is a releasing phase in the moon after it becomes full, so we're really observing and analyzing what we need to let go of. And then the moon moves into Libra for the rest of the week, bringing a little bit more balance. There are some connections that make us really crave pleasure through the weekend. So, of course, we'll talk through this as the week goes on. But just to give you a little overview of the energy we're heading into. And then, let's see, here we go. Here's what's going on with the planets. So we talked about this yesterday, Mercury entering Aquarius. That happened yesterday afternoon. So we're thinking more innovatively. We're thinking differently. We're even speaking differently, communicating differently. The sun squares the North Node today, and we'll talk all about that. Then we have the full moon in Leo tomorrow. Jupiter forms a sextile to Uranus on Thursday, and we'll be feeling this energy really all week. This is pretty positive and optimistic. So the general trend I'm seeing is that there is change. Change is brewing. We're all kind of coming to grips with change leading up to this full moon. And after the full moon, that sextile between Jupiter and Uranus can get us a little bit more excited and optimistic about the shifts happening all around us, and just in time for Pisces season, which is Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It starts on Friday, and it's a time of closure, of endings, of healing. So the next month after Friday could be a time to really close a chapter so you can prepare to start a new one under the astrological new year when Aries season begins. Saturday and Sunday is all about that Libra moon, no major planetary connections. And it goes without saying, if you saw yesterday's live stream, that this Venus-Mars conjunction is the backdrop for everything happening over the next month, which is positive. It brings an air of love. It brings an air of balance, of harmony when the masculine and feminine planets are transiting through Capricorn together. So long-term commitments and relationships can actually benefit, I believe, from all the changes that are happening. So just keep that in mind. We have some support from Mars and Venus in the background. But let's dive into what's going on today. So I'll pull up our chart here, and you can see that the moon is still in Leo, right in the middle, 15 degrees, and it's getting ready to make a connection to Venus and Mars right now. So let's talk through what already happened today. Overnight, the moon formed a square, a 90-degree angle to Uranus. That was at 1 a.m. So if you are a night owl, if you were still awake at 1 a.m. Pacific time, this could have looked like a need for change, a mood swing, a burst of energy, or just a rapid change in your mood. Many of us probably slept through this, but it's so funny. You know, I always say pay attention to your kids because children tend to be more sensitive to the energy, to the transits, a little bit more psychic. But I don't have children. I also observe my dogs because I feel it's the same way. You know, dogs are so sensitive and receptive, and I was finishing up some work late last night, just before 1 a.m., and I swear, like, as the clock struck 1, my little puppy, my dog next to me, started having this crazy wild dream. So the reason I bring this up is if you were sleeping at 1 a.m. Pacific time, 4 a.m. Eastern time, maybe you had some thrilling dreams last night. That could have been the Leo moon squaring off to Uranus. And then the next transit we're heading into right now, the one I just mentioned, if you look at our chart, we'll just jump ahead actually a couple hours. So by 11 a.m., the moon forms this awkward angle to Venus and Mars, to that conjunction. This happens at 16 degrees Leo, that's where the moon is, and 16 degrees Capricorn, where Mars and Venus are. This is an imbalanced angle. It kind of creates this awkward energy. We might have a little bit of a difficult time fully aligning with the things that make us feel passionate, the things that make us feel joyous, or our ability to experience pleasure, love, appreciation, affection. So, you know, with Venus and Mars and Capricorn as well, it's like our current emotional state with the moon in Leo is not fully aligned with the plans we have for our relationships or our finances, because Capricorn is really all about that planning, long-term energy. So this is a time in general, not just with this aspect. This is what keeps coming up as I look at the transits today. This is a time to make adjustments. We have awkward angles today. We have tense angles today. So as we lead up to tomorrow morning's full moon, we're in the waxing gibbous moon phase, which is a time to refine and clear any blocks before this moment of culmination under the full moon. So these adjustments with today's transits can look like clearing those blocks, especially when it comes to your values, your attitude, even with the moon in Leo, around your relationship, around your finances. Where are the blind spots on the road to your long-term goals? Sometimes it's really our own attitude and our own mindset, our own viewpoint, or with the moon in Leo, our own ego that's getting in the way of us achieving our long-term goals or even just feeling aligned with them. So today's the day you're really going to want to check your ego. Leo rules the ego. And, the ego isn't a bad thing. I think the ego has kind of gotten a bad rep over the past couple of years with so much awareness about mental health and things like narcissism and things like that. The ego is here to protect us, right? We can look at it as our protector part, the thing that's trying to keep us safe from experiencing discomfort. But the ego doesn't want us to grow because it wants us to be safe. So the moon in Leo is really challenging us to observe that voice, that belief that's trying to keep us safe, that's trying to keep us from feeling discomfort, or even that voice that's like too proud to admit that we're not fully in alignment, that we're not really fully open to receiving, or alignment is the best word I can use for our joy, our passion, our love, those things. So again, this is all about blind spots today. What blocks do you need to clear in order to fully lean into that joy? Okay, because the Leo moon wants us to feel joyous. It wants us to have fun. It wants us to feel ourselves. But the awkward connections today are showing us like what's in the way of that. And speaking of uncomfortable connections, by 1 p.m., so in just a couple more hours, jump ahead here, you can see the moon in Leo opposes Saturn in Aquarius. And when the moon opposes Saturn, this can have a limiting effect on our emotions. It can be more melancholy. So this is really going to force us to acknowledge the weight of our responsibilities. Again, it's like the Leo moon wants us to feel joyous. It wants us to feel free and passionate, but Saturn in Aquarius is like, oh, wait, I'm over here, and here are all the things you need to do. Here are all the things you could potentially worry about. Here are all the things that could go wrong. And, like the ego is there for a purpose. Saturn is in our chart for a purpose. So we're not all running around la la land and not having any structure, not having any stability. So when the moon opposes Saturn, this can just look like emotional distance, a little bit of loneliness, a little bit of sadness, even if you're someone who's already prone to feeling a little bit low or depressed. Just be aware of this around 1 p.m. Pacific time. And know that nothing is wrong with you. This will pass. Luckily, the moon moves very quickly, and the moon's transits don't affect us very long. But again, this can show us when the moon opposes Saturn what beliefs, what structures, what responsibilities, what duties are in the way of us fully experiencing joy. Now, this isn't just like, I don't want to do the dishes, or I don't want to do my work today, and I just wish I could go experience joy. Like, yes, that it might feel that way, but I invite you to dig a little bit deeper and ask yourself bigger questions. Like, we all have moments when we're working, even when we're working our dream job, where we're like, ugh, I wish I could just be at home on the couch right now, or I wish I could just be, in my happy place. But when the moon opposes Saturn, don't let those feelings, those short-term feelings, turn into like, what am I doing with my life? I just want to quit my job. But also, like I said, dig deeper into like, why am I feeling the things I'm feeling? Why am I feeling so much resistance to my responsibilities? Why am I distancing myself emotionally when I'm not feeling the best? Okay, so like, this is a day, again, remove blocks, maybe analyze yourself a little bit, maybe dig a little deeper under why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And then the last transit we have today doesn't happen until 8 p.m. Pacific time. And it is another awkward angle between the moon in Leo and Neptune in Pisces. This happens at 21 degrees for both planets. So you can see that there. And this just could cause some confusion. It could cause some disillusion. We'll have a harder time listening to our intuition. We're prone to being more sensitive, kind of experiencing a wide array of emotions, especially as the moon is preparing to become full. I think this is the last transit, or one of the last transits the moon makes before it becomes full. So we're feeling heightened emotions already today. That's a given as we lead up to the full moon. You might feel a little lost late tonight when the moon forms this uncomfortable angle to Neptune. Remove those blocks, and really, not only does that keep coming through when I'm looking at the transits, but just surrender. Surrender to whatever is happening in your life right now. Things are changing. It's very apparent looking at, just being alive right now that things are changing, but also looking at the chart, there's a lot of changes coming. The US is coming into its Pluto return, or is in its Pluto return, but it becomes exact next week. And even just with the main transit we're talking about, the sun squaring off to the North Node. Did we even talk about that? You guys, I don't even think we talked about that. Okay, we are going backwards today. Okay, so that's the main energy that we're experiencing. So accurate on long-term goals. Yeah, and I think we're at this point in the year too. Like Mercury just moved back into Aquarius yesterday. The last time it was in Aquarius was on New Year's Day. So we had these big visions, we had these big ideas, and then life kind of got in the way. The year started going along. Mercury went retrograde. Venus was still retrograde in Capricorn. And maybe we lost sight of those goals or visions or ideas. Now that Mercury moved back into Aquarius, we're thinking about those things again. And with Venus and Mars in Capricorn, the sign of long-term commitments, we're like, okay, we need to start working towards our long-term goals. But the energy today is we're not quite ready to do that. We're kind of reflecting and trying to come to terms with how do we really feel about these things, So, okay, so let's go backwards now, because I forgot the main transit of the day. Just getting lost over here. It's all the awkward energy in the skies. I'm going to blame it on that. But around noon, so we'll jump back a little bit. The sun in Aquarius here, 27 degrees, is squaring off to the North Node and the South Node. So this is what's called a T-square, when the sun squares off to both. And this is a little preview of the full moon, because when the moon becomes full in Leo, it's also going to square the North and South nodes. So today the sun squares the nodes, tomorrow the full moon squares the nodes. And what does this mean for us? The North and South nodes are mathematical points that represent the axes of the moon. But in astrology, they represent our future and our past, our purpose, the lessons we're here to learn for the North Node, and for the South Node, our karma, the lessons we came into this lifetime already knowing. So when the sun is squaring off these points in the chart, this looks like an activation or an agitation of our purpose, forcing us to acknowledge the lessons we're learning, very much in line with this sort of uncomfortable energy I've been talking about. We want to move forward. We can't quite lean into that joyful state that is going to allow us to do so with full energy and full passion behind us. But we're very aware when the sun squares the North and South node of the lessons we are here to learn. The sun in Aquarius also puts a focus on our mental state. It can make us a little prone to overthinking during Aquarius season and just having a ton of ideas in general, but sometimes that can feel a little bit chaotic or too much. So just beware of overthinking when the sun is squaring the North and South node. Getting stuck in your own head could prevent you from really being able to sit back and observe what lessons the universe is teaching you. So yeah, that just kind of plays into the energy. We're already feeling this tension, this awkwardness, like we're ready for change, we're ready to do something differently, but emotionally we're not quite there yet. And Pluto, as you can see, is still pulling away from this trine over here. Here's Pluto, this trine to the north node and sextile to the south node, speaking of the nodes. So Pluto is really activating change, transformation, death, and rebirth of our purpose, of the direction we're heading. It feels like there is a shift in direction collectively as Pluto has been making these connections with the north and south nodes. So we're all kind of aware of that, and it's a little uncomfortable. It's a little awkward right now. I don't know. Let me know if you're feeling that as well. I think just the state of the world right now is very like, what's going on? Like, we know changes are happening. We know changes are coming. We can feel it, but we can't really embrace it and be happy about it just yet. The moon in Leo, like I said, wants us to be happy, wants us to feel joyful. And, I just, the emoji of the like salsa dancer, that's all what I always think of when I think of Leo energy. It wants us to just have fun and be free, but all the awkward connections it makes today and the sun squaring the nodes, it's uncomfortable. It's a little bit uncomfortable. So let's do an overview and then we'll pull a card and see if Spirit has some wisdom to send us on this a little bit awkward, a little bit tense day. So the sun is squaring the north and south node, really making us aware and forcing us to face the lessons we're learning at this point in our lives, whether we like them or not. We're very aware of changes happening. Pluto is also connecting to the nodes, but the moon in Leo is making some uncomfortable connections today, and it's making it difficult to fully lean into our joy. We don't have a ton of energy behind the direction we're heading or the things we're doing. It could feel like you're a little bit lost as the moon makes uncomfortable angles to Mars, Venus, and Neptune. It could feel a little bit difficult to fully align with joy, fully align with love. The moon squared off to Uranus overnight, bringing this change, this disruption, and the moon also forms an opposition to Saturn. This will be the moon transit we feel the most strongly today. It happens at 1 p.m. Pacific time, and it can really put a damper on our mood. It can make us feel more melancholy, more emotionally distant, and make us very aware of time and our duties, our responsibilities. As much as the Leo moon wants us to have fun, Saturn is forcing us to come back down to earth and really be here in this present moment and deal with our current commitments. So this energy feels a little bit like we want to move forward, we're ready for change, we want to feel excited about it, but the planetary connections are just not quite letting us get there yet. After tomorrow's full moon, things could start to lighten up just a little bit. This full moon is going to be pretty intense, but Venus and Mars, like I said, in the background are helping us to really fill our cup when it comes to love, when it comes to desire, when it comes to passion, when it comes to our values. So know that that's happening in the background over the next month and helping us to embrace love, embrace ourselves fully, embrace people that are not like us, that are opposite us. And that's kind of our saving grace today, is this beautiful conjunction in the background between Mars and Venus. Okay, I know it's kind of a confusing day. I know it's like, I don't know. That's just how I feel. I'm like, ugh, that's the energy, Let's see, though. What does Spirit have to say? I'm going to pull from the Spirit Animal Oracle deck, see if a little animal totem can give us some wisdom. So while I'm shuffling, as always, this is the time to ask questions. Let me know how you're feeling, if you woke up feeling amazing today, or if you're feeling a little bit of this awkward energy. And I always say, I'm very aware that my own energy, my own perception influences these live streams. And I know I'm experiencing some tension personally in my chart. So it's always a good idea to take a look at your chart and kind of analyze what's going on with you personally, not just the general energy of the day. So especially if you have a copy of your chart, pay attention to where Leo is, because that's where the moon is and that's where the full moon is going to be. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into what area this full moon is impacting in your life during our live stream tomorrow. Okay. What do we need to know? What do we need to know? Ooh. Okay, I accidentally pulled two. Should we read both? This is the one that came up first. Electric Eel Spirit. Bring your ideas to life. Number 24. Okay, what does it mean? What does it mean? Seemingly out of nowhere, the jolt of electric eel spirit appears to awaken you to a big idea you are meant to explore. Epiphanies and aha moments are gifted to you right now, so celebrate. Your life has the potential for profound transformation. Inspiration arises in you, electrifying you so that you can't wait to get started bringing your idea to life. The revelations you experience now are meant to set you on a new path, so do not be afraid to act. Explore, examine, and don't fear the changes that may come, for Spirit wants to shower you with love, success, and abundance that you hope to experience. Now is a thrilling time of epiphanies, inspired ideas, and innovation. This is a wondrous sign for you today. Okay, thank you, Spirit, for coming through with a little bit of positivity. We love that. And as I'm reading this, the sun squaring the north and south node might feel uncomfortable. Change almost always feels uncomfortable, right? But pay attention to any ideas that come through, because the sun is in Aquarius, like I said, ruling our mental state, bringing in these ideas. Mercury is also in Aquarius now, bringing in new ideas, bringing in innovation. So through this discomfort, even if you have these profound ideas, it doesn't mean that you have to have it all figured out right now, but pay attention to what comes through. Sometimes, isn't there a famous quote about like discomfort being the birthplace of innovation or something like that? So, if you're feeling discomfort and you're like, I'm not happy with my life right now, like pay attention to whatever ideas come through, because sometimes these are the moments. Me personally, my most uncomfortable moments have been the moments where I have the most profound downloads or insights. Yeah, Bailey says, it's a little yin-yang energy. I feel good, but also blech. I could deal with snuggling all day with my pup. Yes, I feel that, Bailey, definitely. It is that yin-yang energy, like that push-pull. It's very much the Venus-Mars energy. It's like these two planets coming together, and we're really coming to terms with our masculine and feminine. Do we want to push forward? Do we want to sit back and receive? And the moon right now forming this awkward angle to that conjunction is really making us like bleh, like you said, just like, what do I really want? What is really going to make me feel good under this Leo moon? And the other card we pulled was Hawk Spirit, number 32. And I'm just going to read it because it came through. So why not? Maybe somebody needs to hear it. Flying high above the landscape, the hawk sees both the big picture and the small details, observes the rain and the pond as well as the cloud, and doesn't miss anything. When Hawk Spirit arrives, you're called to pay close attention to messages from Spirit that can appear in anywhere in any form. Listen to your intuition and keep your eyes open for synchronicities, the meaningful coincidences. Hawk Spirit asks you not to dismiss the signs that Spirit is sending to guide you. Lately, you've been hearing the same word or song or coming across the same symbol here, there, and in the strangest places. Perhaps you hear a song on the radio with just the right lyric pertaining to your query, or you begin to notice uncanny billboards, license plates, or other places where repetitive numbers or words show up for you to notice. Pay attention to the animals that appear for you and connect with their symbolism. Spirit wants to communicate and reaches out again and again. When Hawk Spirit appears, it's a sign to listen. Again, pay attention to whatever downloads come through, whatever signs the universe is presenting you, as this Hawk Spirit card has just come through. So really, I'm getting the message with both of these cards. Listen, not only to your own ideas, but be aware of whatever messages are coming through. Again, it's in times when I feel the most discomfort, not only that I have the most profound ideas or realizations, but also that my guides tend to come to me the most when I am having the hardest time. So if you're having a difficult time navigating emotionally today, or just navigating the day in general, open yourself up to receiving signs, open yourself up to thinking differently, to having those breakthroughs or realizations, especially as we head towards tomorrow's full moon. And I'm very excited because tomorrow morning, I'm going to have a special guest joining me, Stephanie Campos. She is another astrologer, and she has a ton of Leo energy in her chart, so she's the perfect person to chat about the Leo moon with. We'll be talking about what this full moon means for your sign, what area of your chart it's activating, and just the general energy this is bringing, especially with this beautiful backdrop of the Venus-Mars conjunction, really putting the focus on love and on beauty and on harmony, how to bring together all of our energy in this cohesive way to work towards one goal or one direction. Where do you suggest getting your tarot decks? I buy mine mostly on Amazon, but depending on where you live, if you have any metaphysical shops or crystal shops around you, my first deck I got from a crystal shop. And anytime I see a little crystal shop, especially when I'm on vacation, I always go in, and if they have a deck that is calling me, I'll buy it. So that's my favorite way to buy cards, is to just go in and kind of see them in person. But I also, this is a deck that one of my best friends introduced me to. She has this deck, and I loved it so much that I just ordered it on Amazon. Same with all of my Rebecca Campbell decks. Those are on Amazon. Actually, I pre-ordered her new deck that should be here at the beginning of March. So I'm excited to share that with you. And yeah, but if you're watching and you have any recommendations, either for me or for Bailey, who just asked that question, put your recommendations for tarot or oracle decks in the comments. And the difference between tarot and oracle is that tarot is the more traditional, Five of Pentacles, Wands, Cups, and Swords, the suits, kind of like the traditional deck of cards. And then you have your face cards, the King, the Queen, the Priestess, the Empress, all those things. Or not the King and the Queen, but you know what I mean if you're into tarot. And oracle decks are more like this, where they have a theme, and it's more of just kind of a general message that comes through. So just to clarify, you are so welcome. Thank you for asking. All right. That's going to do it for us on this day that feels a little bit awkward leading up to the full moon. But tomorrow, I think we'll be able to embrace the love a little bit more under the light of the full moon, and we'll be under this like celebratory culmination tomorrow morning, especially with our chat with Stephanie, who's coming on, and then we can start to release. But this is the time, like I said, remove any blocks, remove anything, or just at least observe anything that's really preventing you, I should say, from fully leaning into your joy and your bliss and your passion. Ooh, all of Kim Cran's decks are pretty cool. Rider-Waite is good for learning the card meanings. Yes, Rider-Waite is like a traditional tarot deck from my understanding. So if you're looking to get into tarot, Rider-Waite is, I think, the way to go. Or that's at least Rising with Morgan. I did an episode of The Spiritual Journalist with her. You can find that on our website under Conversations. It was, I think, the second episode I ever did. And she talks about tarot, and that's a really good introduction to tarot if you're interested in getting into it. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful Tuesday. I hope that you're able to navigate the energy of the day more easily now that we've gone through the transits. Any discomfort, remember, is here to show you what blocks need to be removed for you to fully embrace your bliss. So I hope that you have an easy day navigating this energy. I'm saying that for myself too. Also, in just about an hour and a half, we will be back live wherever you're watching with a new episode of The Spiritual Journalist. And we're doing things a little differently today. My partner is actually going to join me. He'll be our first male guest ever on the show. And we're talking all about NFTs. So if you're like, what's an NFT? Or you've heard the word, or you're kind of curious about it, but it seems really intimidating, or you're just like, I don't think that's for me, I encourage you to watch this episode. We're going to break it down to the basics. What's an NFT? Why would you want one? How do you buy it? How do you track it? How do you get involved? And bring your questions too, because as with all of our live streams, the goal is to create a conversation and give you information to help you live a better life. So we'll be talking all about that at 11 a.m. I hope you join us. I'm super excited. And if you can't make it live, you can find all of our conversations on thespiritualjournalist.com at any time, or on my YouTube channel. Same goes for these daily astrology live streams. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. If this video is helpful, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so we can monetize these videos and keep this content coming to you every day for free. Hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow morning to talk all about the full moon. But until then, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.